ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to the organizer for inviting me. And now I have a bar set up quite high. I will try to make this as short as possible in order to enjoy the coffee break as soon as possible as well. So, my today presentation is about enhancing financial stability and local insurers in the context of the Solvency II and IDD regime, of course with an outlook on Croatian market. Croatia in numbers, we are the member of European Union since 2013. We have the population of 4.2 million. Oh, here, okay, 4.2 million. It's similar to Moldavian population. GDP growth 2.9%, inflation rate 2.1. Okay, sorry, thank you. 2.1, and unemployment rate 8.5. And in case you didn't know, we have more than 1,000. Okay, thanks. Should I put it? Yeah, okay. And in case you didn't know, we have more than 1,000 islands in Croatia. Not of all of them are inhabitable, but still. I will go briefly through European insurance market in terms of risks and environment. We have low interest rate environment, and we know that this bothers insurers because of investment policies. We have high exposure to fixed income investments, which of course diminishes profitability and increases sensitiveness to interest rate changes. Asset managers might turn to more risky investments, and of course as regulators we always have to pay close attention to that as well. And we have seen and we anticipate equity and property risks rising. So overall, ALM plus lapse risks are also expected to increase, and overall it's not an easy environment to cope with and to work in. But I'm sure that all insurance will manage to do that, and of course we as regulators have to pay close attention to what's going on. So main challenges in Croatia currently, definitely ALM risk, because our undertakings are not able to adequately match their assets and liabilities, because they invest mostly in government bonds. And in Croatia, unlike in some other countries, in Croatia corporate bonds have duration of approximately 10 or less years. We had several issues of 15 years, but as you know, in life insurance, of course, the duration is much longer, so there is obvious gap. So they try to lower this gap in investing in corporate, in foreign sovereign bonds, with longer maturities. However, this gap is not completely dealt with. We have, of course, low interest rates situation in Croatia as well. So we as HANFA, as the regulator, we decreased prescribed technical interest rate to 1%. Of course, it was much more in previous period. Then this led to undertakings reduce their guaranteed rates, of course, in traditional products in line with market trends, and they adjusted their tariffs accordingly. There's always a reinvestment risks. As I said, that our companies invest in corporate bonds, and of course there's always the question, okay, when the maturity is here, now what do we do next, because the interest rates are dropping, and this poses challenges to insurers. We see quite high growth of unit-linked business. I will talk about that a little bit later on the slides to come. And undertakings have developed pure risk products and riders in order to compensate for the profitability, or at least loss of the profitability, because of this macroeconomic environment. Not only this, there are several more challenges. I will go briefly through them. Undertakings have showed change of business model and strategy in terms of the decreased sale of insurance with guarantees, of course, because of low technical interest rate, low environment of low interest rates generally, and they expanded their unit linked. But of course, this is not riskless investment or a riskless product. And regulatory changes, I don't need to go much further into that. We all know that we have really high regulatory burden. And I can say that as a representative of a regulator, we have GDPR, we have IDD, we have PRIPS. It's all challenging, not so just for undertakings, but for the regulator as well. So it poses quite a burden. Investment allocation, I might say really that the undertakings, because after the implementation of Solvency II, they actually steered all their investments toward those who need less capital. So they are changing their investment strategy in order to have lower capital environment or requirement. Cyber risks are commonly known, and of course we are not an exception. In Croatia we are exposed to those as well. And InsurTech, it's not really developed yet in Croatia, but I'm sure in the years to come we will have to deal with that as well, more than now, definitely. So here's one slide showing life insurance market in Croatia. You can see that this pie shows life as a whole, whereas traditional products share is 75%, unit-linked is 19%, and it's rising. Unit-linked was really, really low beforehand, but now it's rising. As for share of new single premium in total life insurance, now look at this is really interesting, it's all 90%. So we see a switch from traditional products to unit-linked. And these red bars show this share. So this is traditional life, and you can see here single premium as opposed to traditional semi-annual or multiple annual payments. Non-life, on the other hand side, you will see here that the motor MTPL takes about 34% of the market, and then we have Casco, it's 14%, and some other types of insurance. Maybe the most important thing to say here is that, or interesting thing is that the MTPL average gross premium in Croatia is 124 euros. And the whole drop of MTPL after gross written premium after liberalization, and I will talk about that in my second presentation today, was as high as 34%. For instance, on Austrian markets, after the liberalization, prices went up and the GDP went up. So it's not the same everywhere. So to switch to Solvency II, the main objectives were higher capital requirements. We wanted to have undertakings that are more capitalized. We wanted to improve system of governance. We wanted to secure financial stability. And of course, this was our desire beforehand as well, but this is really emphasized now. And of course, consumer protection is everlasting topic in our sector. It was implemented beginning of 2016. What's interesting is European Union older members had around roughly 10 years to prepare. We have had 3 to 4. We joined on voluntary basis KISS 5. It showed, luckily, that insurers were well capitalized and they fulfill capital requirements. So all of our undertakings are completely included in the new regulatory regime, even though we're a really small market, actually. And we don't have many undertakings, it's only 18 of them. But all undertakings, because they are so small, of course, in the global level, they use standard formula, and none applied for other. So all use standard formula. So all undertakings are in compliance with solvency capital requirements, and maybe interesting thing is to show SCR and MCR. So solvency capital requirement equals to 262%, and MCR obviously a little bit below 500%. This shows that they're well capitalized. It's okay. So their investments, the yellow part, as I already mentioned, as you can imagine, government bonds, and then we love properties in Croatia. I'd say that 90% of private persons have actually ownership of the property, and this is also shown and visible in the investments. Why is this government bonds share so big? Of course, before introduction of Solvency I, we had Solvency II, we had Solvency I, and they were obliged to have such high levels of sovereign bonds, of government bonds. But after introducing Solvency II, we didn't see much of the shift. So they actually stayed, the undertaking stayed with the more secure instruments. As for SCR modules, maybe the most important one is, you can see, market risk is the highest capital eater, and then non-life underwriting risk, and it's, as far as diversification is concerned, they're diversified. So, what was the effect on Croatian market of introducing Solvency II? First of all, definitely high costs. I have to say that, and we have more high costs coming our way with IFRS 17, as I'm sure a lot of you already know. We experienced mergers of companies, and then we also saw that some companies introduced branches into our market. We have 4 of them currently. And we saw that the business operations are consolidating, especially for the big international groups. They're outsourcing part of their functions to mothers. So yeah, this is something to be expected in the future as well. A little bit about financial stability. Our real GDP growth is 2.9, and as you can see, well, we're not at the bottom. It's somewhere around the middle, but as for unemployment rate, well, I'd say we are quite high on this one. I wanted to show how the potential on Croatian market is as well, because gross written premium as a share of GDP and total GDP per capita by county, as you can see, we are here among the countries with definitely low share of GDP in GDP. So I will not go into details about directive on insurance distribution, because I'm sure you were very well acquainted with it, but maybe just to emphasize remuneration, a level of transparency plus conduct of business rules. These are top priorities, and as for the status we are currently in as Croatia, we actually have it all set. The first reading of the amendments of the new law on insurance is passed in the Parliament, and we are preparing currently bylaws. We are expecting to have it covered beginning of this month, October. So, a lot of areas to be fulfilled within the IDD, and to wrap up with, currently, we set up a web register. We have almost 20,000 licensed insurance agents plus licensed insurance. Of course, I think that in this database there are a lot of insurance agents that have not up-to-date data, so maybe some of them are not doing business anymore, but we will make it clean now. We introduced application for monitoring of these 15 hours education, set IP document remuneration policies framed, and we are monitoring the governments that is developing in relation to new products. So, I think that I was hopefully brief enough. Okay, thank you for your attention.